Shut up and sit down.
After another very long break, I am back. Welcome back to the Beer Sherpa. If this is your first time stopping by, please make sure that you like, you subscribe. I will start putting out a little bit more things in the future. Beer drops that we have coming up, as well as additional interviews and other fun things I kind of have going around in my brain right now. So that being said, I am Danimal, and this is Frank.
Frank the Tank.
Frank the Tank.
I'll see if I'm a
Welcome.
tank, right?
Frank Ruvoli. Like, dude, I love your music.
Thanks, man.
I absolutely do. And it was maybe a year or two ago that we kind of met here?
I think so.
Yeah.
Probably
Yeah.
two.
And like, I love acoustic music myself, and I love when people come in, play their original stuff, put their own take on other covers and everything, and you were one of those people that I was just immediately gravitated towards. And so, like, I love the fact that, you know, we've kind of bonded a little bit. We've known each other over the last couple of years, and you know, I haven't done a whole lot of shooting. The school year has been a little bit crazy, hairy, difficult, challenging, as I knew it was going to be.
I can imagine.
But now that things have started to like settle in and I'm less stressed out and anxious, it was great that Frank actually approached me at the brewery when I was in one day after school. He was up at the bar with his wife, and he mentioned, you know, hey, are you still like shooting your videos? And I said, well, I've kind of gotten away from it, but I'd like to get back into it. It's like, oh, like I'd love to do a video with you. And I was like, all right, this is my way back into doing more videos again. So,
and because I love talking to you, and we've already had a great conversation just sitting at the bar already.
yeah,
Kind of
we're already 2 beers in.
lubing up for the show.
Yeah, love it, absolutely. So far in this channel, we've done a few video interviews. We did one with Robert Ralph Feddersen, who we both know.
Great guy.
Absolutely.
Actually officiated my wedding.
See?
The rock and roll preacher himself.
There you go. And good old Dylan back there, this guy, interviewed him a little while back. And I'd love to continue doing these with, you know, our bartenders here, our servers, our owner, our managers. Like, I would love to do that kind of stuff. So hopefully we find time to do that. So before we start talking about beer, and I know that we both love beer. I have to ask you a little bit more about you. So tell me a little bit about Frank. When did you first start getting into music?
Yeah, so I've always loved music. I was in choir in the 5th grade, and my first experience with like crowd energy, so to speak, was when I was in 5th grade choir. I was Elvis. I sang an Elvis song. It was like a solo, and I won the solo, I guess. I don't know if you even win solos in choir. I don't remember. I really don't remember. I just remember being Elvis in 5th grade, and I acted like Elvis, and the parents and grandparents erupted after I was done with my song because I dipped the microphone.
Oh.
And when you're a 5th grader dipping microphones and trying to sound like Elvis, I guess that's really appealing.
You were truly playing to the crowd.
Yeah. So
So
the place erupted.
It's kind of awesome.
Yeah.
Like when I think back about my musical history, I really don't have too much of one. Like, I was in choir in 6th grade, and I did really, really well in choir, and I had a great voice, and then puberty hit.
Yeah.
And then I said, no,
Yep.
not doing choir because this is embarrassing.
Yeah, that'll change it.
Yeah, and that was really it outside of dabbling with guitar in college.
Yeah.
But that was, again, really about it. I still have the guitar at home.
Yeah.
It just
sits.
sits and collects dust,
So
sadly.
that's kind of what happened to me for college, because after fifth grade choir, I stopped because I focused on baseball. And then I went to college. I played a year and a half at Wabash College, and I ended up tearing my shoulder. I was a catcher, so I tore my lat. So since I have to throw every pitch pretty much as a catcher, I just wasn't able to do it anymore. So that was a big change in my life, because my whole life was baseball.
Right.
It was, practices all hours of the day, night, week, whatever, training over the winter, playing in the spring, summer, and fall, right? So it was kind of like one of those life-changing moments, so to speak, where you grow and try to figure out something new. So I figured two things. I could either party my head off and, probably do bad things with my time, or I could try to find a new hobby. And I've always wanted to learn guitar and piano. And as luck would have it, I was in a fraternity. One of my fraternity brothers had a guitar, and I would go in there and just sit there while he was sitting there probably studying or whatever. And I'd just start strumming the guitar. Nothing good. Probably wasn't even real notes. I would just do it. He probably got sick of me being in this room all the time. So finally I asked him, I'm like, hey man, you never play this. You mind if can I buy this from you? Or you mind if I take this in my room? He's like, oh, I'm actually going to sell it. Probably because he wanted me to stop coming in there.
That might have been part of it.
So I bought my first guitar. I bought from him, $125, which is a lot in college money.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot of beer money.
That's a lot of college
you threw
money.
at a guitar.
Yep. So after that, I started learning how to play on YouTube. Then started writing songs. And then after I graduated, I played my first show in college right before I graduated. I opened up for Clayton Anderson, who's a country guy. He's well known. He's not like a Taylor Swift name, but he's all over the place. He's from Indiana. He's a great guy. We had a great time opening up for him. I got to hang out with him afterwards, and that really energized me. So
really
then
cemented what you wanted to do.
Yeah. So then I was like, okay, well maybe I can find some bars to play at. Make a couple $100 extra a week or whatever, or a month or what it may be.
You got to earn that beer money you spent on the guitar.
That's right. So then I started playing out, and then I just started playing more and more and more and more and more and more and more, and kept writing songs and started releasing songs, and now here I am 11 years later.
Got a little bit of a following going.
Yep.
That's awesome.
And even if people didn't follow me, I'd still do it.
Well, you got to truly follow what you want.
Yeah.
What your passion is. And I mean, when I think back when I was in college, years before you, old man, young kid.
Right.
I got into guitar because number one, I've always wanted to learn how to play an instrument. And it's not to say that my parents didn't give myself and my brothers an opportunity to, but we were just always busy with sports.
Right.
We were a baseball family, and you were a baseball kid. So was I. And music just wasn't a priority to me. And so when I went off to college, I wasn't playing baseball anymore. I broke my hand my senior year, and kind of like you, I needed a new hobby, to pass the time in college. And so I started taking guitar lessons, and I jacked up one of my fingers on my left hand just when I was starting to get pretty decent.
Yeah.
And it legitimately prevents me from playing guitar.
That sucks.
And so my guitar sadly sits in my second bedroom collecting dust. Yeah. It's a sad story. But the reason
I'll buy it for $125.
Well, might have a new guitar in your future.
Nice.
But I mean, when I think about the reason I got into playing guitar, it had to do a lot with who I was listening to at the time.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure I know your answer, but you're a Dave Matthews guy, aren't you?
Yeah, very much so. But I wasn't when I started playing.
Really? Because I was.
Yeah.
I was a total Dave Matthews nerd.
Yeah.
When I started playing, and some of the first songs that I learned were Dave Matthews songs.
Oh yeah.
Which were not easy.
No, and that's why I became a fan.
They were not easy at all, and I love Dave. I just went to a ton of shows in college. I had a lot of fun. Knew the words to every single song. That was my jam. So when you think back on when you began playing music, why did you?
Why did I play music?
Yeah.
Good question.
Like who were your inspirations when you began actually your music journey?
Sure. So my first inspiration, the first song I ever learned, was "Home" by Daughtry, Chris Daughtry.
Oh yeah,
I was a big. I still am. I still put him on.
Daughtry's great.
I love him. So he's got a great story. Was on American Idol, and I think it actually benefited him not to win, because you see some people who've won other than Kelly Clarkson and Carrie Underwood.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of those people, they get one contract, they get the American Idol contract, and then they're done after that.
Right.
Obviously, Kelly Clarkson and Carrie Underwood have made it a long-term career, but he got eliminated third. Everybody thought he should have won, and he immediately got an RCA deal, or a deal with RCA Records. So, so the first one I learned was "Home," his song that he played on Idol. And I learned a lot of his songs. So a lot of my early songs, like if you ask me to play a song from when I first started writing, it's going to be more of like that rockish kind of bar chord action. But I learned. I was trying to learn as many like acoustic, because at first I just wanted to be that acoustic guy, especially in college. Like, cool, I'll pull out the guitar around the fire. And
all the ladies ladies love the acoustic guitars around the fire.
And it's like, here's Wonderwall. You know what I mean?
There you go. That's all you need.
Yeah. So I was actually with some friends somewhere one time, and they're like, "Oh, play a Dave song," and I'm like, I know Dave, because when I was growing up, my sister Katie used to always jam him in the car when she was driving me around or whatever. So I knew who Dave Matthews was, of course, and so I'm like, okay, thinking about it, I'm like, all right, what songs do I know? Well, I know "Crash," I know "Satellite," "Ants Marching." Okay, I'm like, next time I see you, I'm gonna learn a Dave song for you. It'll probably be one of those three, because those are the ones I know. And I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, how hard can it be? Like, "Crash." Okay, slow love song. All right.
Yeah.
So then you pull it up, and it's like his hands like this the whole time, and then I'm like, huh. I'm like, okay, maybe not that one yet. I'm like, how about "Satellite"? And "Satellite," it's and it's all over. And then I'm like, okay, "Ants Marching," dun dun dun. I can't. It's got to be like a couple chords, and it is kind of a couple chords, but it's
a little bit more complex.
It's chords with a little bit of movement.
Yeah,
chords, a little bit of movement, and I'm like, all right. I thought, I was never a big fan, and then I started watching like Dave and Tim on YouTube. Their acoustic sets. I mean, the band's great, of course. Obviously, they just got inducted in the Hall of Fame. But then you start watching, like, YouTube's a great tool for really anything, and you can watch this stuff. So I'm watching, Dave and Tim, 2 acoustic guitars in Radio City, or you watch like some older ones where Dave was just playing himself acoustically, and I grew up bigger respect and became a huge fan for him for the reason of, okay, it taught me 2 things. Number one, he's way better than you would think he is if you're not a fan of his, or if you're not a musician. You know what I mean? Because if I wasn't a musician, I'd probably be like, oh yeah, Dave, what a great band. They've stood the test of time. You know what I mean? But because I'm a guitar player,
you look at what he's doing,
everything
you're like,
he does.
How are you doing that?
Yeah, they don't teach you that when you're starting how to learn 101. You know what I mean? Which, whatever, but it's amazing. And then I used to listen to a lot of people, like when I was starting to write songs, and I would try to listen to interviews. And I did the same thing when I played baseball too. I would like listen to pitchers and catchers talk about different things. So I started, I don't know, I guess I just have an unknown system in my head when I try to learn something. But I would listen to like John Mayer interviews and Dave Matthews interviews and Tom Petty and Dylan and Beatles, and try to listen to what they say about when they're writing and stuff. And one of the things John Mayer said, and I didn't think I had a really good voice at the time, or at least I was learning to find my voice, I guess I should say.
Right. Because puberty after 5th grade.
Yeah, right.
You got to find your voice again.
Right. So I was trying to find my voice, and in one John Mayer interview, he said, when I first started playing songs, all I wanted to do was be listenable. He's like, if I knew I was listenable, I knew I was on the right path. In terms of, if he's got a song, somebody sits and is okay to listen to him. So I was working off that premise, and then before COVID, there was a ton of open mics around here, and I think open mics are a great thing. I hope they're still around, of course, but there was a lot more. I was just telling a story the other day where, in my 20s, my music friends and I, it was like Sunday through Wednesday, we'd all have open mic spots we'd go to, see each other, drink cheap beer, and just everybody gets up and plays songs.
Yeah.
And then we all, of course, had our own gigs Thursday, Friday, Saturday. The heyday, I guess I call it. But then, so back to Dave, the open mics, there would be really good singers. And I'm like, man, they're way better than me, you know? But I thought to myself, you get 4 songs at an open mic, and these great singers, beautiful voice. I would realize that after the first song, people would kind of stop paying attention to them. It'd be like, oh wow, that girl's got a beautiful voice. So that first song, you're like so enthralled in that person's voice, and then the next song, it's the same tempo, the same type of song, and I'm like, okay, I don't think I'm a good singer. Or at least these people are. I know these people are better singers than me. How can I keep people entertained for 4 songs? And that's where Dave comes in. I was watching him, and I figured out that as an acoustic artist, there's 2 parts to your show. There's what you can do with your voice and the words that you sing, and there's how you can play your instrument.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of these people were doing the same tempo, the same chords, and after you heard their voice, you were like, oh, great. Okay, great. So let's go back to our conversation. I learned, okay, let's do a love song. Let's pick it up. Let's start moving down, because people are gonna be like, wait, what's he playing?
Yeah.
And they're simple. I mean, at that time, I thought they were simple because I was doing bar chords, but I was instead of doing a C here, I'd do a C up here. But because my hand was moving this way so much, people are like, oh, what's he doing?
They're confused.
So I'm like, okay, well,
You keep them guessing.
right. I may not sound as good as her or him, but I'm going to make sure that for 4 songs, you guys are paying attention. You know what I mean?
That makes sense.
So Dave taught me that as well.
And I mean, like, that was kind of my journey too, because I loved and I appreciated Dave as a musician, and I went to actually some of the Dave and Tim shows. Mind-bogglingly awesome.
Yeah.
The last one that I went to was at Purdue. It was so cool. And like, that began kind of my guitar journey myself. And then I had a friend, Adam, who got me into a very little known guitar player from Texas, Monty Montgomery.
Okay.
And
I know that name.
he plays in a very, very small band, and he's been very, very much by himself acoustically for a lot of his life. But the dude plays guitar like you really don't see people play the guitar. He plays it as every part of the guitar is a different instrument. And it's so cool to see and so cool to witness. And he utilizes the same guitar that he learned guitar on 40 years ago.
Wow.
And that guitar has been like put together so many times because he's broken it so many times because of how he uses the guitar.
Right.
Uses / abuses the guitar. And I mean, it was just kind of that love and passion that I saw. It was just mesmerizing to me. And like, I love music, love acoustic, especially out of most other kinds of music, but I'm a rocker at heart. And so like, when I think of rockers, I think of bass, I think of drums, keyboard. Are you someone that has played in a full band before? Or are you mostly just your voice, and an acoustic guitar?
Yeah, so for the most part, and actually before I have something on my brain from you saying you went to the Purdue show at Dave and Tim, if I could ask you a question real quick before I answer that. When you were at that Purdue show, were you sitting by somebody that kicked a whole bottle of beers?
Oh my God. I heard it.
That was my brother-in-law. Because he told me one time he was at that show, and then I don't think it was him, it was his buddy that kicked beers, and then he said
totally remember
people were yelling at him, saying you're being disrespectful to Dave and Tim, and he said, who cares, Dave and Tim are probably high as balls right now.
I totally remember that happening. I was there with my college girlfriend at the time, and we were, because
it was in the auditorium, right? So it was small.
It was at Elliott Hall.
Yeah. Yep.
My God.
Damn. Brought to you by my brother-in-law.
Thank you.
I think it was his buddy, but that's funny.
That's crazy.
I'm a songwriter. I remember a lot of stories. I think he told me that probably 10 years ago. But that's funny you said that.
Did you write a song about it?
No, I did not.
Not yet.
Not yet.
So, getting back to the original question, I know that we took that tangent.
No, you're good.
Have you ever been part of like a full-on band? Bass guitar, drum, keyboard, whatever.
So, as a scheduled band, and what I mean by that is, having us play a show where we
like an actual
No, we have not. I have not. The open mics, all friends, we'd get together, play songs as a full band and stuff. Yeah. So I've had that. Really, what I do normally is acoustic solo, or my buddy Brian will be lead guitar, and we'll do acoustic duo. But I would love to have a band. It's just two reasons: busyness for everybody's life, making sure that everybody, if you're going to have a band, it's a lot more coordination. You got to make sure everybody can practice, because acoustically, if somebody comes out, even if I'm with Brian, just two guitars, if somebody says, "Hey, can I request this song?" and I've never played it before, but I kind of know it, we can pull it up on an iPad and fake our way through it, and it's going to sound at least halfway decent.
Yeah, you're going to be able to pick it out.
Right. And for the most part, I'm not saying not every band, because there's a lot of people that know a lot of songs and can figure it out pretty quickly. But for the most part, if you want that type of interaction, you're not going to be able to. Your band's going to have to be more set in stone. And that's not every band. But yeah, I guess just the coordination, I would love to have one. Mm-hmm. But the coordination has just been tough for me, I guess.
I get it.
But it works well, I guess, acoustically. For that interaction reason as well.
So when you think about all of your years of being involved in music and songwriting and playing venues, is there any one particular moment that just kind of like stands out, like, damn, that was like amazing, that was like the pinnacle of what I have experienced so far?
So that keeps happening, which is awesome. So over the 11 years, that keeps happening. And I have this little thing that's small wins. Mm-hmm. So when you're chasing something that you believe in, it's small wins. Everybody wants that, you say overnight success. Nobody's an overnight success. It always takes time. Some time for some, long time for some people, short time for others. You think Chris Stapleton, he just got famous in his 40s, but he's been writing songs for years. And then people say, well, Bieber or Taylor Swift. Well, yeah, they started as little kids, and then by their 20s and now 30s, they're
seasoned.
Yes, already. But you would think, oh wow, they accomplished that in their 20s. It's been taking them a long time. So I have this thing called small wins, and just a couple off the top of my head would be like the first show I played, or actually the first couple shows I played in college. I mentioned the one for Clayton Anderson, and he's well known in college because he plays a lot of college parties, or college gigs. And then a guy who, I don't think he plays much anymore, but he was a country singer at the time touring. His name was Zach DuBois. He's actually from South Bend. I met him. I got to play a couple songs in between his break when he played a gig. So those were like early small wins. In terms of shows, I've opened up for Los Lonely Boys, the guys who sang Heaven.
Yeah.
So I got to open up for them in the area. I just opened up for Lee Brice, which was an awesome thing.
My parents were at that show.
Yeah. So we've had great feedback from that. Brian and I played, and that's exciting. Mm-hmm. A couple of years ago, we got hired. People who are now very good friends of ours, they hired us to play their wedding in Arizona.
That's so cool.
So we went out to Arizona to play a wedding, it was a great time, and a beautiful wedding, by the way. Today, actually, they just posted their 3rd anniversary. So happy anniversary to you guys. And speaking of Dave Matthews, so like there's other things other than shows that are wins. Like obviously recording and letting music out, and people are like, oh, I like that song. That's a huge thing.
Yeah.
I've had friends play a song of mine at their wedding, like just on the it's like because that's their favorite song, stuff like that. To the Dave Matthews point, like when I was trying to learn music business, I'm like, well, what's it going to hurt to email Dave Matthews' manager? Because again, all the research I do, I figure out who these people are and stuff. The guy's a billionaire, the manager, because he owns a bunch of different businesses.
Right.
He's known for Dave and stuff. But, what's it going to hurt just to see if I get a response? Probably 2 months later after I sent the email, I got an email from his executive assistant saying, hey, Corin wanted me to respond to you. He said, thanks for the email, because I gave him some kudos. I'm like, hey, whatever. Mm-hmm. Here's the answers to your questions. He said, good luck with your career. Did the same thing with another record executive that I found. Got a response. So it's like, it's small things, sometimes you got to do it on your own, but knowing that you're getting responses from people, or your music is giving an emotional response to somebody, or you're getting these opportunities to play big gigs, whether they're few or far between, it's amazing.
You're legitimately getting that toe in the door.
Yeah.
One toe is going to lead to another. And eventually it's going to be a foot.
Right.
And then it's going to be a shoulder pushing open the door.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That checks out.
Yeah, it's just little things that keep you going. You know, it's not always the big accolade or payday or what it is. If you enjoy what you do, it's those little things that make the ride worth it. Especially all the people that we all my music friends talk about this all the time. The experiences and the people that you get to have and meet just from being able to play an instrument or sing songs is incredible. Especially just in this area. So if you want to be a musician and you're in Northwest Indiana, you really don't have to go anywhere else. You can stay here. You just got to start networking. But I mean, man, it's incredible.
It's all about knowing people.
Yeah.
It literally is around here.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know, I haven't worked in this industry for too terribly long. Like I've been here at Off Square for 7 years, and like we've had music here quite frequently over, I would probably say, the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Pretty frequently. And, you know, we get decent crowds in here. And so when I think about musicians that are playing and musicians that want to come here and musicians like yourself, you have quite a catalog. I mean, you've got like 75 some odd songs. And so when you sit down and you write lyrics to a song, what are kind of your inspirations behind those lyrics?
So it could be a story that I was told or that I have. It could be early on when I started writing, it was what you call a figure of speech. So like, I don't know, give me a figure of speech. I can't think of one right now, but like,
God. I'm one beer more in than you are.
Like, I don't even know if this is a figure of speech, but the cat bit the bag on that one. Yeah. Like, I don't know if that is one or not. But like somebody would say something funny like that. And I'd be like, because it's a figure of speech, it usually works well in language. And then I write that down in a notebook, and then I figure out some way to do that. So a lot of stuff I would just work off. And the reason I did that for a reason too, because I figured if I wrote a song and if it was decent or whatever, but if it was a figure of speech that somebody could connect to immediately, they'd be like, oh, that's kind of a cool song.
Yeah.
That he's, you know, that he says that's funny. Yeah, I mean, I have song Shoot Corner about Shoot Corner, which, you know, that people think that's funny, especially people who know Shoot Corner around here at St. John.
Yep.
You know, I write like Sweetwater is about a cottage on a lake that's in Plymouth that's just hanging out with friends. Wells Beach is about Wells Street Beach, going to there with high school friends. And, you know.
So for the most part, most of your lyrics tend to be around, you know, certain phrases, or especially like Northwest Indiana, because you grew up in the area.
Could be, yeah. I mean, it could be. I mean, there's songs that I have that have a broader like message. Like "You're My Love." That's a kind of a love song. People think it's a love song. It's honestly just a song written completely about the power of a hug.
Hugs are powerful.
Hugs are powerful. Yeah,
they're extremely powerful.
Yeah,
you know, and there's different levels of love within a hug.
There is.
And so look
at that. You're already getting down to start writing songs.
Look at that, man. Look at that. I know.
Yep.
I know.
Yeah. So it really could be anything. It could be a sound on the guitar I'm playing, and I just start spitting words out.
Or a certain chord progression that you just came up with.
Yeah. And because I like it so much, I want to keep playing it. So I just add words to it.
Yep. I get that. That's cool.
I get that.
I get that. I get that. So out of all of the songs that you've written, is there any one singular song, I don't know, that is the most dearest and truest to your heart that you've ever written?
I don't know if I can give an answer to that for one.
Okay.
Because I have a lot that are very dear to my heart. Like Chase the Lights would be one.
Okay.
Angel would be another one. It's a love song. Sweetwater would be another one. Kind of like a backtrack, which I really enjoy. I don't play it often. Everything is a great one.
I mean, you've listed off several.
I know.
I mean, like, can you
pick the one I'm releasing? I think is great because I think it's funny.
Okay. So let's.
We don't have to skip there. I'm just saying.
Let's get to that. You've mentioned it. So,
but I like real quick before you go there.
Okay.
Each song has a different piece of me in it that.
Okay.
Whether I put them away for a while and bring them back out, they're like kids, I guess. They're all my favorite in one way, shape, or form.
And it's funny because like that's how I view a lot of music. And there'll be times where I've got a huge freaking music catalog at home. Like I have like 35,000 songs on my computer.
Yeah.
And every now and then, like there'll be this song that I haven't heard in years that peels up. And I'm like, damn, that song was really, really good. And then all of these memories flood back.
Right.
It's like, okay, that's why I enjoy the song so much.
Yep.
Because of those other things that are tied with it.
Right.
Like it's just, music is so powerful at that point.
Oh, it's amazing.
So let's talk about this new single that you have coming out.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether you guys know out there or not, and hopefully you do because you've seen our message out there on social media. November 9th here at Off Square Brewing, we are going to have this guy right here playing and releasing his brand new single. So can you tell us a little bit more about your brand new single?
Yeah, sure. So it was recorded at Region Buzz 219 with my buddy Nick Kazonis, who's another musician friend in the area. Great guy. I actually wrote this song back in 2020, July 5th, 2020. And I debuted it one time on the radio with Tom Lounges back then.
Okay.
Put it away for a long time. And then when I found out I was opening for Lee Bryce, I'm like, I like this song. It's called Can't Say It's Not Country, which I've been playing this whole thing up because the song is about Northwest Indiana. And I can get into that story in a second. But I'm like, you know what? Some people know me as like a Dave Matthews guy. Some people know me for my originals. No, I really don't have a genre. I like to write songs and let the songs speak for themselves. And then I was opening up for this big country guy. So I'm like, would it be great to have a new song that I can play at that show and say this is coming out? And we had it all done at the studio the month before. Say this is a new song called Can't Say It's Not Country. And the people that know me is like, yeah, he's not really country, but he's opening up for a big country star.
Right.
Hey, it just makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
It's great. It's good timing.
That's how my brain works.
I mean, you can't say it's not good timing.
That's or good beer.
Or good beer. Right. All right, so if you have this new single coming out, and this new single is coming out November 9th here.
Well, November 7th. It's going to be on
November
Spotify,
7th,
but the party.
Yeah, the party's here.
Party's on the 9th.
Yes. Can we assume that a new album is to follow?
So, yes, but this song is separate from that. So there's going to be some songs that come out that are just going to be more singles.
Okay.
And then we're getting a whole album kind of structured.
Okay.
So there hopefully will be an album next year. But in between that, it's going to be more singles that won't be attached. As at least I don't think so as of right now, that won't be attached to that album.
Okay.
They'll be separate projects.
Interesting.
But,
okay. All right. So we're going to transfer to my favorite portion of this video.
Hell yeah.
Which is beer.
All the beer, baby.
So we'll be back.